Now, when we're born, when we're conceived, our nervous system begins to expand. And who knows when spirit comes in. But there is a guy named Rupert Sheldrake. Rupert Sheldrake popularized an idea that had been around for a while, saying that complex systems create energetic fields. And these energetic fields are connected with all similar complex systems. And this is particularly true for life. So he said that this particular form of coleus, for instance, this species, has a morphogenetic field, is what he calls it. Morphogenic fields or morphogenetic fields, to use them interchangeably, that is associated with this species. And that when this plant began to grow, it was partly guided in its growth by these fields, in how to grow into a coleus plant. That the genetics actually work, they have all their effects. But according to Sheldrake and other evolutionary biologists, genetics don't explain protein synthesis and development adequately. And so there's a morphogenetic field that's associated with this plant, and then with this plant. And then, of course, with humans. Which means at the moment that we're conceived, that it's possible, and I believe likely, that there is a morphogenetic field of humans that is guiding our development. And if you check out Durian's work at all in the family constellation, I believe that families themselves, that extended families, create morphogenetic fields that affect the individuals of those families. And so an infant is conceived and genetically begins to develop, and possibly energetically is being guided in different directions. The infant is born beige, meaning the infant is born basically like all infants are born. But a human infant looks into his mother's eyes. And now a complex language immediately happens. Infants are born with this language. It's a birth language. The language of looking into a mom's eyes and having very, very complex emotional communications, nervous system to nervous system. Holding children on the left mostly. 70% of mothers and fathers do that. Why? Well, because that's our left eye and ear is connected with our right hemisphere, and the child's right hemisphere is particularly active the first 15 months of life. And that right hemisphere is being guided by the mother's right hemisphere that's guiding the child with attunement. This is why attunement is so important for parents. And a well-attuned parent with an infant that doesn't have any kind of physiological or temperamental challenges, and I'll talk about that in just a second, will guide the development of this infant into being what's called securely attached. And a securely attached infant has the most unobstructed developmental path. Now, as this child grows to a toddler, he's egocentric and he just is part of the little toddler group. But about 3 years old, something very interesting happens. A child can engage in what's called co-corrective play. Co-corrective play. Now, if you're part of a tribe, what happens with co-corrective play is that child now can participate in work and will want to in a tribal context because that's all you do, you just contribute. Now, in that transition, as the child gets older, they act out. You know, more egocentric, more brain development, particularly at 5 to 6. There's a major pruning that goes on. Brains expand, 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 expand. Then there's a pruning about 5 or 6. It's right hemisphere, right hemisphere, right hemisphere until around 2, and then it's left hemisphere, left hemisphere till around 4. And children are in theta and delta almost all the time. And this is a huge learning state. They're in dream time all the time, and so their nervous systems absorb information much, much more quickly than older children or adults. So as a child, at least in our society, in lack of a tribal context, there begins to be a power struggle around 4 or 5, where the child has been encouraged to direct adults up to that point. But now he starts directing them a little too much, and they start directing back. power struggle. Child goes, I want to be the power god. Parents go, no, I'm the power god. Now, this is healthy parents. Healthy parents are wise and kind power gods.